Garbage Respective to The Lord of the Rings by Kilian Experience.
The Lord of the Rings trilogy. 3 epic books and 1 fun prequel. But not only that, 3 epic movies, but nothing else. I don't know what you were referring to.
Wait.
If you
Unironically, well, he showed it in the background, like the Rankin and Bass stuff, and he showed, what was it? There was the 1970s attempted live action. Was there an attempted live action? This is so meta.
haven't heard of Lord of the Rings, don't panic. I have read all the cliff notes, and I can now explain everything that happened. But Kilian, will you be summarizing the books or the movies?
Right.
Good question. The video will be way more coherent if I pick just one. So I thought I'd just switch back and forth at random with no consistency. But what version of the movies though? Listen. I'm not one to gatekeep. If you didn't watch the special editions, that doesn't make you a garbage human. It just makes you a weak human.
Yes.
The Hobbit.
There is only extended. What about theatrical? Do yourself a favor. Watch extended.
Or an unexpected 3 movies. The Hobbit is a book for children, written by J.R.R. Tolkien. The movies are for adults, written by movie executives.
Yeah.
And because they rushed the movies, I'm gonna rush this section. In a hole in the ground there lived a Martin Freeman.
Mood.
This is Bilbo. He's a hobbit. Hobbits are, according to J.R.R. Tolkien, malnourished humans that aren't very ambitious. They just like to sit still and smoke pipe weed. I wonder if that's
Hitting that one a little on the nose, aren't we? Don't be hasty.
related. One day, an eternal magic being named Gandalf shows up with some dwarves and says, "You're all short. You should rob a dragon." No one agrees. I think Gandalf himself is probably bored of immortality and just tries random fun shit to see what happens. And no one dares to argue with a man that can kick them before they reach him.
See, I love that this is satire. It is so artfully done because in a very, very short summarization, Gandalf was the actual one of the 5 Istari that went over that actually did his job. So the fact that this is saying, yeah, he's just an immortal being that just, I don't know, he's probably bored. He just tries different things. Yes, and it's also opposite to what happens. So it's beautiful satire.
Gang sets out, walks for 10 minutes before trolls capture and starts to barbecue them.
Yeah.
Gandalf, being an eternal being, has had time to work on his imitation skills, and they are so good they kill the trolls. 10 more minutes and they meet Elrond, and he's like, "This will all be retconned, so goodbye." After sneaking away from goblins, Bilbo gets lost and finds a ring that can turn you invisible. Probably not important, so ignore it.
Nah.
Then he challenges a creature named Gollum in riddles and cheats, which I didn't know you could do. The gang meets up again.
I think the only reason it worked, quote unquote, is because Gollum very specifically, at least in the movies, I'd have to go double check Riddles in the Dark, the actual chapter of The Hobbit, is that he says, "Ask us a question." Therefore, what is in my pocket is a question. It has to do with wordplay, you know, dancing around that, meaning what you say, and calling someone out when they ask you a question. Right, there's, it's so beautiful.
And Gandalf fucks off, because he's bored of this prank and now he's off to get an eagle drunk or something.
Yeah.
Then it's just chapters of "We're dwarfs and we're in danger, help us, babysitter." They finally, after a very short time or long time, depending on format, reach the dragon. Hi, Smog.
Hi Bilbo, I have a weak spot near my heart.
Okay.
Gonna go
Yeah.
burn down Lake Town now.
He burns down a city, then episode 4, Euron Greyjoy shoots an arrow through time and space and kills Smaug.
No idea who that is.
He's just that good in that one episode. The dwarves are successful. And when someone is successful, people show up wanting money.
Yeah.
Thorin, king of the dwarves, says,
Actually.
"Push off. My money." So they start killing each other. Then Tolkien writes, "Legolas from my next book breaks the laws of physics." Thorin dies and Bilbo gets rich and tells his travel companions, "Goodbye, dwarfs. I will now travel to Mordor. Praise the Dark Lord. What? I will now travel to Bagan. Goodbye. It was published in 1937.
Yeah.
Then for 13 years, nothing important happened in the world.
Nope,
But
definitely
then,
not.
Tolkien walked up to his...
It's just a blank spot in history. I can't remember any world events happening between the years of 1937 1950. I'm just drawing a blank. There's nothing there that's really relevant.
publisher. You know how fantasy is for children? I've written a 1,200 pages long book. What? It's a musical. What? You need to read this Bible to understand it. Why? The Silmarillion. I don't know what happens in the Silmarillion because Amazon haven't finished their series yet. Something about the gods, confusing names and singing. I think
I love it because it's technically not it's technically not wrong. Gods, the Maiar and the Valar, Eru Iluvatar, and the singing of the Ainur, which is the singing. Confusing names, I'm assuming, is Melkor becoming Morgoth, Myron becoming Sauron. Well, they're the same entity, the same person. The meaning of names, even in Tolkien's works, are quite literal. Melkor just does things that eventually is declared, you are now Morgoth. Myron becomes Sauron. Oh, it's technically correct, and that's why I love this.
it was just made so that if someone doesn't understand something, you can just shout at them, "It makes sense if you read the Silmarillion!" So instead, let's move on to the main course. Fellowship of the We the Publishers are splitting your book into 3.
Yeah.
The backstory to Lord of the Rings is so
There were
cool,
6,
you
remember?
guys. It seriously deserves its own book. But it needs to be told in a dramatic voice. I feel it in my Word document. In the Second Age, 19 rings were sent out to people for free. No scam
No
promise.
scam promise.
But in the land of Mordor, Dark Lord Sauron forged the Ring of Power 2.0. These rings were like Windows 95, no security, but Sauron forged Windows 98 and could control them all. Then he started
Technically, the 3 elven rings were not actually crafted by Sauron. You used the same method. Excuse me, but they were crafted by Celebrimbor. His hand never touched them, but that they still felt when Sauron put on the one ring, and thus it would have influence over them. So, fun fact, fun thing. That's actually why Celebrimbor is very, very important. There's a lot that surrounds the 3 elven rings, and actually why Sauron wants them so much.
invading the rest of the world. An alliance of elves and humans considered this not cool and traveled to Dagorlad to kick his ass. But they got their asses kicked. Realizing he had won, Sauron decided to help his enemy up. But in a move considered a dick, Isildur, son of Eldil, cut off his finger, and then everyone died for convenience sake. The half-elf Elrond told him to cast it into the fire, and Isildur responded, "Let's make a pro and cons list, because a human now..."
Take a pros and cons list. So that actually is one of those big things where, like, in 90% of conversations, it's never going to be relevant. However, there is the conversation between the intro section, the intro here that we just watched, right? Between the book and the movies, they are completely different. It is, I believe it's High King Gil-galad and Elendil that go and fight Sauron, instead of, just Isildur and Elendil. I think Isildur came in after the fact, cut the ring from Sauron, and then took it as a war prize for his family, right? There is also, it wasn't on the slopes of Mount Doom. It took place a little different, in a little bit of a different area. And it was like a 7-year siege, I think. And you actually have Thranduil, his predecessor, was actually there at the Dead Marshes, and him and his army. Who would have guessed? Because I almost said Riverwood. That is not what that is. Mirkwood elves, right? They just, nah, we're gonna go. We got this. We don't need tactics from you. Charged in, and they're the elves in the Dead Marshes. There's a lot. But in 90% of conversations, no one's really going to care about the difference. But there is a difference between the novel and the actual what we got in the movies. Both can be looked at as absolute, just amazing mastercrafts. Even like mastercraft of film, I would argue that prologue was. But it's not really necessary or mandatory for a lot of conversations.
Owned the ring. It was used in ways considered not safe for work, so it betrayed him. Then Gollum had the ring. Then Bilbo had the ring, and then concerning Hobbit starts playing my nostalgia. This
That's
is
the one.
Frodo. He's 33, but like me looks 16. Today is Bilbo's 11th birthday. Everything is great. Gandalf is here, he sets off fireworks, then Bilbo disappears. Gandalf thinks,
What? Bilbo had a ring of power? That's so weird.
so he has to travel to research this problem, because they haven't invented Bing. He returns. 17 years later, Frodo is now 50.
Oh, Eru, it's that ring. Oh, Eru, oh fuck.
Frodo, you're a walking dead man. Go to the Inn of the Prancing Pony. Ah, they're already here. The kid has the ring. It's just Sam. Tolkien politeness lesson. Don't eavesdrop because you will be recruited to a suicide mission. The two set out on a journey with lots of dangers, like back pain because Frodo is 50. Meanwhile, Gandalf visits his old friend Sauron. Gandalf the Grey is on my doorstep. Something's changed. Your voice is very deep, and you sound like a final boss. You have smoked too much of the halfling's weed. Let's join Mordor. Maybe. What? No! You choose pain! Whee!
That was another between book and movie-ism. Saruman, upon meeting Gandalf, was his robe not many colors. He was Saruman of many colors, not Saruman the White. Oh god, there's so many isms between the book and the movies. Oh, it's so good for debate.
The hobbits are stuck, and then the forces of Sauron attack. No, it's Pippin and his friend. Tolkien lesson. Don't steal vegetables because you will get sent on a suicide mission. The most important thing is, I don't see any potatoes. But there might be, because a guy shows up to debate historical accuracy. I get the feeling he actually wants to join this fun adventure, but he's too shy to ask. The hobbits flee because their bigotness makes them assume he wants them harm. And they meet Tom Bombadil. What follows is a weird filler arc that a modern publisher would reject the entire book for. They made it to the bar, and a creepy weirdo with a broken sword stares.
Okay, I know for a fact he's using Lord of the Rings Online music now, and I'm absolutely in for this. I love Lord of the Rings Online.
At them. The character thinks he might be confused by them and think they are his type. Then he grabs Frodo and they really regret not telling him they are adults. Turns out his name is Strider and he's here to protect them. The Black Riders swath their way into the bar and then they destroy furniture.
My god.
Strider explains they are the Nazgul, men who sold their will to the Dark Lord, similar to McDonald's managers. Meanwhile,
so in defense of omitting Tom Bombadil from the films, right? In defense of omitting both, I guess actually all of these, the Crick Hollow segment, the segment of the Old Forest up through Old Man Willow into Tom Bombadil and through the Barrow Downs. Can you imagine, just to your average theater audience, how absolutely immersion breaking it would be to, we're moving to, and you could easily probably fit the move into Crick Hollow into the first initial chapters of the movie, right? You could absolutely probably do that. And going through the Old Forest leads to the Buckleberry Ferry, right? And then you get to Bree. But it is such a break for people to go into Tom Bombadil, to go into the Barrow Downs. And the Barrow Downs actually do have significant plot relevance, especially when you get into Return of the King, because it is the Cardolan Blade. I think it's Cardolan, right? Cardolan Arthedain. There's the other one. I never remember its name. That Arnor was split into 3. The Cardolan Blades were the ones that had enchantments upon them that could break the Witch King's enchantments. And so when you have Merry stabbing the Witch King in the ankle, it broke all of the protective enchantments surrounding the Witch King, allowing Eowyn to actually deliver the final blow. So it was a joint effort there. And you can really kind of hand wave it as, Aragorn just happened to have these Barrow Down blades or these blades passed down, from Cardolan, into the movies. But your average audience isn't really gonna care. It also kind of throws them, not necessarily red herring, but it throws them these blades of Westerness is technically different. These Cardolan blades, right, they're gonna have a purpose somewhere, right? And then you're still waiting for it, rather than realistic. It was here, yeah. Go take this from, I almost said Sambrog. Wow, thank you, Lord of the Rings Online. Take this from the Barrows tombs. You know, the Barrows should be sleeping. Tom Bombadil gets them out of the situation. And in defense of them removing it, I think that it would be too base breaking for your standard average audience. If they made an extended edition with that in, I'd absolutely watch it 100%. But I understand why they omit it. I think that it's important for certain lore things, especially because Gandalf, before he leaves Middle-earth, does talk to Tom Bombadil. They have like a 2-year discussion. Tom Bombadil also isn't affected by the One Ring on his lands, so that's another important thing. And it just opens up a lot of avenues that, imagine, because he never really comes back in towards Return of the King. Imagine if they did put it in the movies, and so halfway through Two Towers at Helm's Deep, well, what about Tom Bombadil? Is he going to show up? Where is he? Is he going to show up with allies? Is he going to show up with the trees? Oh, the trees at the end of Helm's Deep. Oh, Tom Bombadil's here, right? When that's not what the story is about, right? I think that cutting it was the smart decision for story pacing and flow, but I do lament it in certain aspects because it does derive from the source material, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, if that makes sense.
Gandalf is locked on Sauron's roof. Tolkien lesson, mountain climbing is a rewarding hobby. The gang decides to go to Rivendell. Then Pippin informs the Nazgul of their location. We later in the story find out he's such a badass he thought he could take them. Frodo gets stabbed.
Yeah.
In the book he's fine. Then a random elf shows up and is like, you wanna fast travel? Yes. In the movie, Frodo's gonna die!
Ranger! It's me, your girlfriend. I'm a waterbender.
Good morning, Mr. Baggington. Rivendell. Hey, Gandalf is here. He escaped using Middle-Earthian Uber. This scene was so boring when I was a kid. As an adult, it still is. She shows dick over immortality. I can't respect that. Council of Elrond. We are now introduced to the rest of the crew. Legolas, Gimli, and is that Sean Bean?
Yes, it
I
is.
love him. I hope he makes it to the end. Turns out Strider is Aragorn, a descendant of Isildur, who was alive 2,900 years ago. So by now probably every 10th person is a descendant of Isildur. The council decides to destroy the ring. They need to come together to face this threat. So they start to fight. While they fight, Frodo realizes when this is over he has to go back to his neat lifestyle. I will take it. You have my sword, and my Gary Stunes, and my comedic relief.
There is heavily inferenced. How do I word this? It's heavily inferred that Eru Ilúvatar did intervene at this point in time, that Eru spoke through Frodo, or at least had Frodo speak up in the books to do this. I do like in the movie that it's not necessarily Eru's decision, but it's Frodo understanding that, like, I guess you could also headcanon as Eru is still speaking through him, but it is, everyone else is bickering and he's just like, I guess I'm gonna do this, I guess I'll do it.
The real hero of this story, we're also comedic relief. And there they are.
Yep.
Lord of the Rings 1. Tolkien lesson, giving into group pressure will get you sent on a suicide mission. The Fellowship of the Ring travels. Fellowship sounds way better than Delivery Man.
Hey, Gandalf, we can take a shortcut through my cousin's kingdom.
No, we will not travel through the former kingdom of Moria.
Former?
Let's go on a ski trip. They try to pass through the mountains, but oh no! They reach the very not dead kingdom of Moria, but the door is password protected with the clue best smoothie for beating the summer heat. Good news, Moria is a lot less crowded than expected. They'll reach Mordor by tomorrow. Why did you take a break now? It's almost rush hour. Orcs surround them and they've brought 2001 CGI. An orc chieftain kills Frodo with a spear. He sure.
Unironically though, like, why does 2001 CGI go harder than modern CGI? I think that's the true travesty. That we had this technology. Lord of the Rings as a film trilogy was responsible for creating new ways of doing things in movies. It is not only a masterpiece, but it is responsible for creating things that we still use to this day. Like, oh my god. It is such a travesty that we will never get another Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Or is a magnet for stabbing. But he survived because he had level 20 defense and could wear mithril.
Damn
now
straight.
they run to beat traffic. Is that the electricity turning on? Oh no! This CGI still holds up. That means he's a real threat. Gandalf screams the famous quote, "You cannot go over this bridge." He just woke up, Gandalf. He probably has to piss and you are blocking the way to the bathroom.
Oh my
Gandalf
God.
dies. Listen to the tragic music. He's definitely dead, you guys. This section...
I do about that whole section. I actually rather dig the whole Balrog versus Gandalf segment because when you just understand that they're both, it's Maiar are the top one, I think. No, Valar are the top one. Maiar are the lower ones. They're both Maiar, right? And so just to have the Balrog come out, the Balrog of Morgoth come out, right? Because they're effectively entities of the same power level, of the same initial being type, right? Effectively think like an angel versus an angel or a demon versus demon, that kind of thing, right? That kind of tier. And Gandalf just says, "I'm a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Arnor." And he just goes on to be like, "Yo, I serve Eru. You need to just go away. Like, you don't want to mess with this. You go away." And the whole time, that whole sequence, when you read into it, is, the Balrog brings out its triple-thronged whip and, kind of snorts at "You shall not pass." They're flexing on each other. These are two greater beings effectively flexing on each other, like Hildebrand 14 style, just flexing at each other before they actually, have the bridge snap and then, they fall down. It's so good. Balrog is a good benchmark for how powerful Gandalf is. Effectively, yeah, they are both Maiar. However, what's important to understand is that even though Gandalf and the rest of the Astari are Maiar, they are diminished, so to speak, because Maiar are Gandalf, the Astari, right, the wizards, Balrogs, and Sauron. Those are all Maiar. And it's important to understand that because when the Astari came over, they were to help people overthrow Sauron. They could not directly challenge him himself. That was not why they were there. That's why they were sent over as old men and with the aging, decrepit bodies, right? That kind of thing. Until Gandalf comes back as Gandalf the White, because Eru picks favorites. Let's be real. And Gandalf was really the only one that still was kind of doing his job. We really don't know what happened to the Blues. They kind of just effed off east somewhere. There's theories that, they potentially made their own magic cults. There's theories that they fell in uprisings, that they turned to evil themselves. We don't know. Gandalf, I believe, canonically has been sources the only of the Astari to actually return west, where, depending on which version you look at, if you look at the movies, Sauron gets ganked and his ending is at Orthanc, versus in the books, where you have the Scouring of the Shire, where Saruman's spirit effectively rises up, and then a wind blows him away east. Symbolic of he's not welcome back west. He's not welcome back into the Undying Lands, that kind of thing.
Was also so boring when I was a kid. To sum it up, Kate, you are hot and I hate this thing. You can have it. Yes! No. They've rented canoes.
That
Not
seems
so
also
different
great.
from us. And they are being followed by a creepy creature. And he's also like us. While they rest, Boromir decides to assault his elder. Frodo believes future interactions with him will be very awkward, so he decides to leave the Fellowship. The end. Oh, the film goes on. Uruk-Hai, attack! Sean Bean, no! Swimming is great exercise, Sam. You should really learn it. Pippin and Merry, no! The end. Lord of the Rings, the 3 flashbacks. This whole book is written like that Simpsons episode. The Two Towers is a story about one tower. It starts with a Balrog falling several kilometers. His final thoughts were, what is the purpose of my wings? Why is this guy attacking me? Why did I have to die on a Friday? The Fellowship has split up. Frodo and Sam are completely lost, surviving only on bread made for bulking. Then Gollum...
What was the calorie count on that? I know, what is it? That's Lembas, right? I think cram was the other term. I think it was the dwarvish term, right? Oh, what was the calorie count on that? No, the breaking of the Fellowship at the end of Fellowship of the Ring was very, very good. I actually really liked it. And it was very, very just... It's good. I mean, the whole Lord of the Rings is a commentary in regards to going off to war, right? You have the beginning, which is the Shire, right? I can't find that. Where is it?
Surviving only on bread made for bulk.
1 by 2,000 calories. Oh my god. Give me some. I want some lembas now. I'll eat the whole thing.
Then Gollum sneaks up on them by talking loudly. They get a brand new CGI award-winning pet. He is very important to this side of the story. But I can't do a good Gollum impression, so you'll never know. Merry and Pippin are having a relaxing ride, but it's so relaxing it kills Merry. Pippin is unaffected, because like I said, pure badass. They are being chased by the only story kids cared about. And that's when Legolas says the thing. Meanwhile, in Isengard, Saruman has made a contract with Sauron to mass-produce troops, but he's run out of resources. Can't produce low-quality nylon uruks, so he decides to chop down a living forest. What could possibly go wrong? Then he tells...
Which, I mean, going into this is the industrialization aspect of the story, where you have industrialization, the burning of Fangorn Forest to feed the fires of industry, and God, like, I know notoriously Tolkien does not like allegory, but there's definitely parallels to things here. I think the Dead Marshes was a very specific battle he was involved at, tangentially or himself, in World War I, where, yeah, there were just bodies in the water. Like, you, at the very least, even if you don't like fantasy, even if you don't like sci-fi, right? If you look at this and go, okay, the original source material was written by someone who served in World War I. What can I glean from this from a military perspective? What story was he trying to tell? What of his own experiences made it into the text, and even from the text made it into the movie, right? And I think that this is a very faithful adaptation, despite, you know, a lot of the differences and stuff. Scholars to this day will debate what happens in the books, such as the Silmarillion, and, you know, movie critics and stuff to this day will discuss things that happen in the movie, and vice versa. They will discuss the differences between the movies, between the books, like the Witch King of Angmar in Return of the King, a very notorious fight that gets discussed. Well, a fight that we never really got, but it's one that definitely gets discussed a lot.
Some barbarians to raid the villages of Rohan. They kinda deserve this. Hey, peasants! Build walls! Stop being shit at living in medieval times. Having citizens massacred really annoys the king's nephew. Hey, your majesty. Thy son is dead, and I think Sauron might be evil now.
My
and
God.
I think your advisor is too.
Do you have any proof or...
Your name is Wormtongue. How did this dude kick out an entire army of 20,000 people? Wouldn't there be at least one guy who goes, maybe we should coup? The orcs carrying Hobbit Team 2 starts to argue, and it reminds me how garbage the CGI in The Hobbit was. What the fuck was that?
Little rough, yeah.
I bet it was more expensive.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, I looked away and they all died, including the hobbits. Ranger, you think you failed? Imagine FedEx support telling Sauron all his Uruk delivery people died, and now the Rohan army probably has to ring. Then Aragorn goes full Sherlock, which I think is delusion brought on by despair. But he gets lucky. Merry and Pippin got saved by a tree.
You are orcs.
That's right.
Wasn't Treebeard his insert for, who did Narnia? No, Christopher Paolini did Aragon. Love that man. He's actually on Twitter. If you didn't know that, Christopher Paolini is active on Twitter. Super cool dude. No, oh, why can't I remember his name? Dude that did Chronicles of Narnia. You know who I'm talking about. Yeah, isn't this his insert? Whereas I think Aslan was his insert for Tolkien. Oh my god. If that's true, it's perfect.
Racist.
I am old, it's our thing.
Yeah.
Take a look at these guys, non-specific
C.S. Lewis,
white
thank you.
wizard.
Hobbit Team 1 is marching through the Death Marches. Consider a rebrand, Mordor Tourism. Elven armor. Not affected after 2,900 years.
It's elven armor.
This
It's
is
magic.
too scary for 9-year-old Kilian. Hey, it's that guy again. Out for a nice evening flight. Proving death marches can be romantic. The action figure sellers run into the forest and get ambushed by Sauron. Nah, it's Gandalf, showing off those imitation skills once again. What's happened to you? After I defeated the Balrog, I got enough XP for a class upgrade. The quartet travels to the Horse Scandinavians to meet their king.
My
Who
God.
lets them in? Big mistake. For your information, this is exactly what will happen if you let in those Jehovah's Witnesses. You can't disprove this isn't how age works. All old people are just corrupted by evil wizards. Where is my son? Telling him might make him depressed again. He went to live on a farm. Gang Frodo has reached the Black Gate of Mordor. It's not very black. Paint is probably expensive.
It's black iron,
They almost
it's fine.
get caught. Some sergeant would lose his shit if you break formation like that. They apparently expected the Black Gate to be a bit smaller and didn't
the Easterlings, I think, went north, right? Because there was actually multiple theaters at the time of the Battle of Pelennor Fields in Gondor. There was the Lonely Mountain, right, where we visited in the Hobbit. That area was under siege, and I'm pretty sure that was done by the Easterlings. We also had a theater around Mirkwood and Lothlorien that was controlled by Commel the Easterling, the second in charge of the Witch King's the first Nazgul, right? The second in charge, Commel the Easterling, was headed out of Dol Guldur, the sorcery necromancer's fortress, right? And there was a theater of war there. There were multiple theaters actually going on at this time, and it's not really relevant to the story as it's presented to us, like in the movies and stuff. Like, a lot of that would be bloat. I mean, even an offhand line, I mean, it starts to divert the audience's attention away from it, in my opinion. But knowing that it did happen at this time is actually super cool for just like world building and understanding the just political and military situations that were happening in Middle-earth at this point in time.
bring any fake passports. Fortunately, Gollum knows a path that is not dangerous. Promise. Back in Rohan, Aragorn wants to charge Isengard and the king is like, no, we did that in the book, went awfully. Let's leave Whiterun and go to Helm's Deep. Then the main characters roast the king for this, spoiler alert, perfect decision. So they leave. The king has a daughter who is not really into Aragorn. Then she finds out he's 87 and she's into it. Total grandpa kink. Then Aragorn dies. Nah, the music isn't sad enough. Meanwhile, Sam is having a lot of fun bullying Gollum. Even so, at night, Gollum has a made-up debate with himself, and much like everyone, he wins his own debate, and is now loyal to...
Everyone's always fun having their self-debates until they lose that self-debate. And then you're just sitting there like, did I just lose the debate with myself? I don't know how to feel about that.
Frodo forever. They're talking about food. What?
Potatoes!
Fuck off, Sam, I'm on Team Sauron now. Potatoes in Lotter means enemy nearby, and they get captured by a character simply named not Boromir. Boromir was my brother. He's dead. So perfect always. I bet his death was epic and emotional. Did you know him? Yes, he tried to molest me.
No!
Sauron is currently marching on our cities. We cannot handle a lawsuit right now. You can leave. Hey, Aragorn's alive. Good for him, and he sees the army of Isengard approaching. Aragorn tells the king and he's like, fuck yeah, this is gonna be epic. Legolas whines that the combatants haven't seen enough winters, but the Uruk-Hai haven't seen one winter. This whole battle is the classic question of how many babies can you beat up. We also...
I mean, yeah, no, the satire's point on, like, it's great. That whole scene is actually really funny when you actually think about it, because Legolas, right, he's speaking in Elvish, right? It's not Quenya, is it? It's definitely not Sindarin. I can't remember which one. There's a couple different elven languages in Tolkien. But he's speaking in Elvish, right? And he's just like, some have seen too many winter, or, they haven't seen enough winters, that we're hopelessly outmatched, that kind of thing. And then Aragorn just cries out, like, then I will die as one of them. And everyone's just, the next shot is people looking. And then you think about it, like, they had no idea what Legolas was saying. Legolas was at least trying to be tactful about it. And Aragorn retorts with, I will die as one of them. And you just think about, like, they're just sitting there like, oh, dear God, what is happening? What is this conversation in front of me? And obviously the difference is because, Uruk-Hai were bred for war. They were bred for combat. That's kind of their thing. They are effectively mass-produced super soldiers or shock troopers or whatever you want to call them. Like, that's kind of their shtick.
Aragorn is a terrible liar. Tension is high, but the viewer is just excited about seeing the greatest battle in movie history. Then the Battle of Helm's Deep begins, and Gandalf arrives in the last second and the humans win. That was easy to summarize. In Fangorn Forest, the trees are having a political discussion, and it's moving faster than a human political discussion.
Oh my god. I hate that he's right about that though. Like that's I don't even think that's satire at that point. I feel like that's actually one of those like Kilian W's because it's so true. Man, there's oh boy.
Then Pippin says, "Hey, it's Earth Day today. Do you think Saruman celebrates Earth Day?" So they go to check and they see that the lights are still on. Saruman's desperate
My
search
God.
for fuel had major consequences. I feel like there's a message here, but Tolkien didn't believe in that. It ends with Frodo and Sam being on their way to Mordor, and Gollum is going to betray them now. And I can't explain why because I'm not Gandalf. Return of the... Okay, so about that,
Yeah.
kinda assume I would be able to finish my longest video ever before my vacation. I only had the longest book left. I was very wrong. Instead, I'll do a full-length video on Return of the King when I get back, so please subscribe and ring bell for that. And because I shamefully didn't finish this video, I'm not allowed to say the important catchphrase. So goodbye, subscribers.
I love that. That was perfect. If you have not checked out the Kilian Experience, you should definitely check out the Kilian Experience. Awesome satire, awesome videos, and I just don't think that he's pushed enough by YouTube. This is one of those videos I come across, and I'm like, man, this is really, really good, though. So if you haven't, definitely go check out Kilian Experience. Down in the description down below, I know that there's a lot of people, myself included, that have been very upset with the state of React content in regards to not citing the original source material. You will find in every video that down in the description you will see, you know, in this instance, Kilian's channel, and you will see Kilian's video. This video, you can go to them. I've made it as easy as I can for you guys, so definitely go ahead and check it out. And that'll do it for me this time. I'm somehow surprised we didn't make this video 2 hours because, oh boy, Kip and Lord of the Rings, that goes on for a hot minute. And I hope at the very least this was a face value look, right? This is a face value look at, oh, Kip likes Lord of the Rings? Do you like, oh, I see a Star Wars video by Kilian Experience. Wink, wink, which we may or may not react to. And also, Kilian Experience, if you do see this, if you are not okay with React content, I try to make it as transformative as I can. If you have an issue with this, if you want me to take it down, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I do have an open door policy with anybody I react to. And if you don't want your content reacted to, if you think I haven't been transformative enough, please just email me, and I encourage anyone as well. If I have reacted to your content, please just talk to me, message me. I'm more than willing to take a video down if you don't want React content being made, and I'm more than happy to help promote that message of, hey, this person doesn't want this React content being made. We only make React content better on YouTube together. Definitely go check out the Kilian Experience, and I will see you all in the next one.